over the whole shebang.
That's right. And then we're going to come back together and we're going to put it all in the oven to finish our meal off and to make something that I will most definitely be eating later as well. So really quick, just to go over the whole process of actually braising the meat. This is a technique that is used to brown the meat on all four sides so that you can not only lock in the juices and make the meat more tender, but you're also cooking it in the special sauce so that you can seal in that flavor nice and tight.
Let's get to it.
All right, so I'm going to be doing the first step in this three-step process where I'm going to be actually braising the short ribs. Obviously, we had to transfer everything over by the stove so that I can show you how to do this manually. Now, the only things that you need for these beer braised short ribs are obviously your short ribs, your choice of seasoning, which I prefer to use just your basic sea salt and pepper, and then my absolute favorite, I use it in almost everything, butter. We'll be adding the beer as well, and I'll go more in depth on what type of beers to use and stuff as the process gets there. But first, in order to get this going, I need to add the butter to the pan and go ahead and start getting it melted. We're going to do it on a high heat so that we can start browning the butter before we actually add the meat to the pan. Once I get it going here. So that's set to high heat and it's going to start melting the butter. While the butter is melting, I'm going to go ahead and start adding our seasoning to the short ribs here. Again, I'm just using sea salt and pepper. You don't really have to go all crazy with it. Just sprinkle it on here, and I like to flip it and get it on all sides. Again, we're just waiting for that butter to melt up a little bit. Now, there's several ways to do this. I'm going to show you the simplest way because I want you to be able to make a really good meal for your family and not have to worry about all the specifics. So, what we're going to do first is I'm going to add these ribs to the pan like so. You can already hear that sizzle going. I'm hungry and it's not even time to eat yet. I'm going to move this pan out of the way. So what you're looking for here, this is obviously going to take a little bit of time, but as you can see, it's already starting to brown on the bottoms of the meat. We're going to give it just a little bit more time so that it can get a little bit darker. And then we'll flip it to another side. We'll do this on all sides until it's completely done. And then we'll start adding our beer. Now, the type of beer that you use can not only control the flavor of your beer braised short ribs, obviously the darker ales and the pilsners are going to be a stronger flavor, but also it can control a little bit of the color of your meat. So obviously the darker beers are going to make you have a darker meat. Me personally, I'm going with the amber ale. And now that I've got those flipped one more time, I'm going to add the second bottle of beer. Nice and slowly. So at this step in the process, you don't have to worry about the meat being cooked entirely because whenever Melody's done with the sauce, we're going to return both the sauce and the meat to the oven where it'll be finished cooking entirely.
Okay, it's sauce time. So, making a roux. That's the thickening agent of the sauce. And it's going to be half butter, half flour. And I'm browning it. We're going to make a darker roux. So that means very high heat on this bad boy. And you just kind of, you don't have to continually stir it, but you don't want it to burn either. If it's starting to brown around the edges, that is when you're going to be putting in, as soon as that butter is gone, that's when you're going to be putting in the flour. All right, so it's all liquefied, so I'm adding in the flour right now. Keep on stirring that. Oh, it is too bad you guys can't smell this. And if it's starting to brown around the edges, don't worry about that. Just kind of scrape it down. That's really where the flavor is anyway. All right, now that it's all done, nice and browned, we are just going to set it aside, add in the juices, and finish up this sauce. All right, now it's time to get that beer reduction into our thickening agent, which I let it set for a little bit to cool off, because you don't want to add something really, really hot to something that's also really hot, because it'll boil over. Nobody wants any dangerous things happening in the kitchen here. So pour it all in there. If you guys could smell this, oh my goodness. So just stir it on up, and then we're gonna be adding some spices and whatnot to get this sauce all rip-roaring ready to go. So I've added the reduction, getting this sauce going here. You wanna get it back up to high, get it on heat, real high up there. You want it to boil. And as it's doing so, I'm gonna add the spices. Oregano. Got some white pepper in here as well. Sea salt. And then onions and garlic, and they're still in big pieces because later on we're going to be straining this out. So there won't be any chunks in this sauce at all. So you get this up to a boil. Then I will be reducing it again so we get it down to a nice simmer. If it's too thick, by your own opinion, add more beer. And if it's not thick enough, then obviously you just keep cooking it and reduce it down. Now that we're at the consistency that we want for this sauce, it's rip-roaring ready to go. We're gonna meet back up with Shane. All right, we're coming together again. The sauce is all done. That means it's time to add it to the meat. Come on,
it looks beautiful.
with me.
It does. It looks amazing. I can't wait to eat it.
I tell ya.
You did a great job with that sauce.
Thank you.
All right, now that she's added the sauce back to the meat, we're gonna make this very simple for you. Now, keep in mind, you might not have an oven-safe pan prepared. So if you have one, please pull one out. A casserole dish will work as well. Make sure you cover it up nice and tight. In this particular instance, we're gonna use this pan because I've used this in several occasions and I know that it'll work in the oven. So by covering this up nice and tight here, make sure your oven temperature is set for 350 degrees. Let it cook for about 4 hours. So now it's been about 4 hours. It's time for us to take our beer braised short ribs back out of the oven and show you how to plate these bad boys.
It smells so good.
And I'm gonna take these off here.
Careful.
Oh, look at that. Oh yeah. All right, and so now what you wanna do is you wanna try and remove these ribs without getting a whole lot of sauce, because Melody's gonna show you how to put the sauce on here the proper way.
Well, we gotta strain it as well.
That's right, and then I'm gonna put our ribs out here. I'm gonna space them out a little bit so you can see what we're looking at. Now they're falling apart, which is the sign of perfection right there, because they're nice and tender, that's right.
Tender and yummy.
So now what Melody's gonna do is show you the proper procedure of taking our special sauce out of the pan.
Here's the deal. I don't like to do a lot of dishes, so I'm just straining it straight onto the meat because I don't want to have to do a ton. You just don't want the big pieces of garlic and the big pieces of onion in there. Should we have beer with it?
Well, I see why not. They're beer braised short ribs.
All right, there you go.
And there you have it, our beautiful beer braised short ribs.